Hey Truth Seekers, welcome back. Zach here. Today's April 13th, 2016. I want to dedicate this video to all of the young Bernie Sanders supporters. In recent weeks, I had an opportunity to talk with some of the young Bernie Sanders supporters in person, and I had some really good conversations, and I'm grateful for having those conversations. They were productive conversations. I think I taught the younger people something they didn't know before. I learned something from them, and I want to share that same kind of connection in this video right here. So I'm dedicating it to the young Bernie Sanders supporters. If you're young and you don't like Bernie Sanders, but you see that something's wrong in the world, this video is dedicated to you too. I'm really just trying to reach everybody who recognizes there's something severely wrong in this world and something needs to be done to solve it. This video is ultimately about solving these problems and how not to get duped into false solutions that will only contribute to the problems we see. And just understand, I'm not here to break hearts. I'm not here to crush dreams. I'm just here because I think truth, at the end of the day, is what we all need a little bit more of. So let's go back 3 weeks ago. I was down visiting my mother in Portland, Oregon. That's where I'm originally from. And while I was down there, Bernie Sanders was having a rally just across the river in Vancouver, Washington, and my mom really wanted to go, so she wanted me to come with her. And I said, yeah, I'll be happy to go with you. That could be fun. So the rally was supposed to be at 11 a.m. on a Saturday, and we decided we'd get there about 8:30, 8:45. We got there about 8:45. When we got there, it was a steady downfall of rain, typical for up here, always raining. But anyway, there was already a line. It must have been at least a half mile long and 5,000 people. And 80% of that crowd was aged 17 to 26. And to me, this is amazing because Obama, he brought out a lot of young people in the elections of years past. But before Obama, young people really didn't come out for elections. I know because I was one of those young people who was participating in the system and feeling so lonely among, people who were mostly in their upper 30s, 40s, and older. I was one of the few young people that would be out caucusing and doing all that. So anyhow, I feel like something's changing in the nation in a positive way in terms of the youth feeling a need to become more involved. I can only assume that they are, picking up on this urgency that the world needs their attention and they need to help out. But the thing is, the youth, because they're youth, they don't have enough information. They haven't acquired enough knowledge to know how to invest their time. And so what I saw at this Bernie Sanders rally was all these young people who really impressed me, but at the same time, all these young people who are getting sucked into a trap. Bernie Sanders is a trap, I promise you. For all of you young people, just realize this about me. I was 18 when September 11th happened. At the time, I was one of the very few people who saw something was wrong with the lies that were being told that day. I questioned the story from day one, and I was demonized for that. So as a person, I started reading more and searching for more truth tellers. And at the time, I found Bernie Sanders. And I thought he was one of the only legit people in Congress. And I used to listen to Bernie Sanders for a lot of years. I know he still talks every Friday on the radio through the Tom Hartman show. Bernie Sanders does say a lot of things that are true. But I've been watching him since I was 18. I'm 32 now. And I've watched how he has become more and more mainstream over the years. To me, it's been obvious that he's been on a path to going somewhere, some sort of recruitment. Now it all makes sense with this presidential campaign because I see how he's telling people truth and selling them out in a major way all at the same time. And it truly is shameful. All these people who don't have anyone else to put their hope in, they put it in Bernie because they hear him saying more stuff that aligns with their thoughts and what they see in the world than anyone else. And I'll admit, I'm one of those people too. Bernie Sanders has been speaking out against the warmongering and the fear-mongering for this whole post-9/11 era. It doesn't matter if you're liberal or conservative, you should be able to appreciate that, especially now having all this hindsight of what's been really going on in this country all this time. So on that topic, though, that's where Bernie becomes a hypocrite, and that's what I was talking to his young supporters about when I went down to his rally 3 weeks ago. The line was so long that by the time we got there, we already found out that it was too deep to even get into the high school gymnasium the rally was being held at. But, you know, my mom, she likes social interaction and talking politics, so we thought we'd just mingle around and talk to people and see what was up. There were young kids filming documentaries, making movies, you know, talking to people. So I just got involved with a lot of conversations where they were happening, and I communicated the same thing to everyone I talked to. You know, Bernie Sanders, he says a lot of right things, but ultimately, at the end of the day, how you know he is a sellout is because he keeps validating these monumental lies that are at the heart of the war machine right now. Bernie Sanders doesn't speak out about them in the fear-mongering, war-mongering ways that other politicians do, but he still acknowledges them. He acknowledges the lie and he participates in it, which is bad enough, and it's so bad that it shouldn't be supported by anyone. And I'm going to establish more on that point. When I was talking to these young people, it was the weekend before the Brussels, Belgium metro station and airport bombing, right? It was the weekend before that happened. And I was explaining to people, I said, pay attention. Listen to Bernie Sanders and how he talks about ISIS as if it's real, as if it's a real threat and something needs to be done about it by military intervention. That's all you need to hear, because that is a monumental lie in our media, just like al-Qaeda was, and al-Qaeda's coming back today, part of the reason I'm doing this video today. But these lies are some of the foundation of our very wrong military policy right now. And if we don't have a person who's willing to call out those lies and show the people that those are lies, then that person's not part of the solution, they're part of the problem. Maybe Bernie Sanders would slow down the rate of this problem, but he's still willing to be a part of it. And nobody should support that, just like nobody should support any of these candidates in this political field broadcast through the mainstream. They're all part of the agenda. It's why all their faces are on the screen. The candidates who you don't hear about, there's a reason they're not there. Their voice isn't to be heard. Only the people who are willing to participate in the overall sham that are our rigged elections. And just a little flashback on me. I was 17 in 2000 when Bush and Gore happened. I knew from the time I was 17 that our elections were a joke, because that's the only way to explain what happened in 2000. Al Gore named the president, and then, oh, wait a minute, something up in Florida, where who's the governor? The brother of George Bush, the man running for president? And then they flip Florida around, and the Supreme Court gets involved. What's the Supreme Court getting involved in stopping elections? And, you know, it was just all a big sham. It was so obvious. You could just see what a scam it was. So I've never voted, you know, and I've always spoken out against all the lies ever since, because to me it's all so transparent. But as I've gotten older, I've gotten wiser, and I have more knowledge to share that I couldn't have shared when I was 17 and 18. So that's what this video is going to be about. We're still just in the introduction. Sorry, I can be long-winded. But anyway, 3 weeks ago, I'm telling these young people, listen to Bernie Sanders talk about ISIS. That's how you know he's not the truth. But I also said to these young people, don't lose your energy, don't lose your interest. All of this right here in this crowd, plus all the other young crowds nationwide coming out for Bernie, imagine if they all became one crowd in the nation's capital saying, this is enough. No more. No more political dynasties. No more Bush Sr., Bush Jr., Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton. No more. That's what needs to happen. And then it needs to go a step further from that. All those young people need to fill the halls of Congress, the Supreme Court, all these buildings by the tens of thousands. And they need to say they're not leaving until this nation stops selling out their future. We need to demand peacefully that everybody resign, because everybody in Congress, everybody in the Supreme Court, everybody in the Senate, they're all a bunch of sellouts, and we all know this. More lobbyists in Washington, by a long shot than congressmen. And all those congressmen spend all their days working with all these groups of lobbyists. It's a joke we live in. It's a corporation we live in. It runs on public relations and duping people and, having them falsely keep their hope in lies. And then you see all these young people who want to make a difference, but because they've been lied to their whole lives from the TV, from their teachers who don't know better and everyone else, they just get sucked right in. Obama. I was trying to tell all the young people during the Obama years, this dude is not the truth. He is a politician. He's on the wrong side. Hillary Clinton, very much on the wrong side. Bernie Sanders, he's on their side, just not as much. But he's on their side enough that people should know better. After the Brussels, Belgium bombing hoax, just 3 days after I talked to this group of people, Bernie Sanders was on the TV, on Jimmy Kimmel, PBS, and everything else, talking about how we need to eradicate ISIS. We're going to talk about what ISIS really is and why Bernie Sanders should know better. And because he doesn't, he's not worth your vote. In fact, nobody's worth your vote because the elections are rigged, they're predetermined, and everybody who votes, all they do is validate a lie. So some of the young people, I also taught them about gematria based on how the conversations went. I know better in public. Some people, teaching them about words and numbers, they're just going to think it's lunacy. But if you find the right minds, the people who listen, the people who can think, they understand there's something to this. So here's the more educational part of this video. We're going to go through a lot here, today's headlines and more. I am going to show beyond a shadow of a doubt just how rigged this system is. I'm not just going to call out Bernie Sanders. I'm going to call out the Clintons and more. I just want people to understand elections are a show. Votes don't matter. Don't get sucked into the lies. But again, keep your energy, keep your focus. We're going to do something bigger and better, First enough, people just have to wake up. Once the people wake up, then we can get something done. So gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words. If you learn this language, you see that the headlines that are created, they're always coding a message, a relevant message to the story. And I've been doing videos for years now. Last spring at this time, I did a video on why Hillary Clinton was already a lock for the next president, how it's already all determined. I'm pretty sure now that Bernie Sanders is going to be the vice president, though. We'll talk more about that, too. But anyway, I've also been doing several videos on everything wrong with the Republicans. I've been showing how all of these Donald Trump versus woman headlines code Hillary. It seems pretty obvious to me that the eventual Republican-Democratic debate is going to come down to Hillary and Trump on some level. Hillary already running an attack ad on Trump, this man versus woman thing. But anyway, here's a current headline for Bernie Sanders. Sanders' streak continues. And of course, this is in regards to how he's beating Hillary in 8 of the last 9 primaries. Granted, all of them have been for small states that hardly have any delegates, not even a fraction of what New York has upcoming. So anyhow, this headline, it has gematria of 85, just like the word Hillary. And all throughout the year, several videos I've done, I've been showing again Donald Trump making nasty remarks about women and the headline coding 85 for Hillary. Show you something about today's headlines and false terrorism. We're going to talk about several topics. We're going to intertwine them all. So just stay with me. It's all going to make sense by the end. This headline is from today. Al-Qaeda very active in Afghanistan, U.S. commander. So coming from the Pentagon. This is posted at 5:23 in the morning, today, April 13th, 2016. And the 5:23 put a grin on my face because I've been talking about the significance of May 23rd and how this date keeps getting coded for some sort of possible false flag event, something like what happened in Brussels, Belgium, that has made politicians such as Bernie Sanders come out and say, we need to destroy ISIS. How all of these narratives come together. Very active, which has the emphasis, has gematria of 130, just like Washington, D.C., where the Pentagon is. In recent false flag terrorism, there's been a lot of 130 coding. The Paris attack and the Belgium attack were 130 days apart. They said 130 died in Paris. Anyway, as soon as I saw this, just as this headline was right here, I thought to myself, I bet you anything that May 23rd is 41 days from today. And so I just had to plug it in on the calculator. From April 13th to May 23rd is a span of 41 days, or 1 month and 11 days, or 5 weeks and 6 days. And let me tell you why this is so comical. I just knew it was going to be 41. Al-Qaeda in Gematria equals 41. They are blamed for September 11th. September 11th, 2001 was a date with numerology of 41. USA equals 41. 41 is the 13th prime number. Think about how this nation began with 13 colonies. Significant numbers. The word home equals 41. You know, we think of the USA here as citizens of this nation as our home. After September 11th, we got the Department of Homeland Security, you know? All by the numbers. I've done tons of work on this. The span of 1 month and 11 days also puts a grin on my face, because September 11th is the day that leaves 111 days left in the year, kind of like 111. And New York is what we mostly think of for September 11th, also Pennsylvania and Washington, D.C., the Pentagon. They say the attack on September 11th lasted 102 minutes, or 1 hour and 42. This is funny because Al-Qaeda in Jewish Gematria equals 102, and terrorist equals 142. Think about how 102 minutes is an hour and 42 minutes. If you write out the word 42 as a word, it sums to 142. NYC equals 42, as does Freemason. We'll be talking more about Freemasonry. Freemason the big way equals 96. This video came out on September 6th, 2009. It's a date with 44 numerology. The kill number, the World Trade Centers opened on 4/4 and 73. Also, that span of 5 weeks and 6 days also reminds me of the number 56. ISIS equals 56. Remember when ISIS emerged? ISIS emerged out of nowhere in late 2013 after John Kerry and Barack Obama said we needed to go to war with Syria because they were funding terrorism worldwide. And a lot of terrorists were coming out of there. And there was no public support for it, they told us in the media, so we didn't go to war. And right away after that, all of these news stories about this new terrorist group, ISIS, coming out of Syria, where else? And what they were was the more radical offshoot of Al-Qaeda. They were the guys that supposedly said Al-Qaeda's become too soft, they're a bunch of marshmallows. We're starting ISIS. ISIS. Or as Obama always calls it, ISIL. So anyway, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, all of this is part of a contrived agenda. There are powers that be who rule over us that are called Freemasons. Freemasonry is a secret society that has been with this world for thousands of years. It has always been connected to people in high places. I'm not talking about the Freemasons who can go join their local lodge in their city. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the Freemasons who exist by these Masonic principles, who rule over governments, who rule over media. They have these esoteric practices. The Freemasons are keepers of knowledge. Esoteric knowledge is gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words. Knowledge of the stars. More. Freemasons, they use this knowledge in their doings. And all throughout history, they have scripted major events by the numbers. The Freemasons believe in order through chaos and divide and conquer. So think about September 11th, you know, in regards to order through chaos. Out of this, we get the Patriot Act. We get a new foreign policy of constantly attacking the Middle East and what we call radical Islam. You know, we get domestic surveillance programs here in the United States. It's now public knowledge that major telecom companies are collecting and recording our information, and they're free of prosecution. They have immunity. Back in 2008 when Obama was running, I was telling all of his supporters that you know Obama's not legit because At the time, the biggest issue was this upcoming vote for immunity for the telecom companies that had been spying on us. And on the campaign trail, Obama was saying the right things about how these companies can't get immunity. It would be a violation of our rights. But then when it came time to vote, how did he vote? He voted the opposite of his rhetoric. He voted for immunity. How fraudulent. To say these things, to condemn it, to say how bad it is, but then to vote the opposite? That shows that the person has no backbone. Their words mean nothing. How could you ever vote for somebody like that? When I was telling that to people in 2008, you know what they all said to me? I never heard that before. Are you sure your information's right? People don't pay attention. They just go with the programming, the things they're told to be feeling. Hope and change. Hope and change. That's all the Obama supporters knew how to say. Hope and change. He's going to make things different. He's going to end all the wars. It's like, are you guys listening to what he's doing? Or have you checked out his voting record in Congress? I have to say, Bernie Sanders' voting record is way better than Obama's ever was. But still, it's not enough. We need more. We can't have anybody participating with any of these lies. But again, coming back to Freemasons, divide and conquer, order through chaos. This is what they do worldwide. Stage events, planned events, and then they make major policy changes off of them, and they find all these criminal politicians to act like these lies are real. If any of these politicians think these events are real, they can't see through the lies, and they're not smart enough to be there. I would run for office, honestly, if I didn't know what a sham the system was. Nothing can be done with inside the system. We need a massive, peaceful revolution saying we're not taking any more. We're not getting out of these buildings until you all resign. Then we'll hold some special elections. Maybe then I'll run. So anyway, right after this Clinton headline, or this Bernie Sanders, his hot streak, winning 8 of 9 states, coming back to the politics, CNN responds with this. Same network, Clinton, I'm not worried. She reminds me of George W. Bush when he was running for president, always guaranteeing that he was going to win. And I'm quite sure he knew he was. He graduated from Yale in Skull and Bones, the Masonic Order, in 1968, 33 years before 2001 when he became president. 33 is the number of obsession in Freemasonry. In 68, the year he graduated, 33 years before 2001, 911 was made the national emergency dialing code, and World Trade Center construction began. Big year, 68. Assassination of MLK and RFK that year. Major change, part of the exit from the 60s revolutionary mentality into the 70s. They really calmed it down with fear at the end of the 60s. I have older friends, that are in their 50s, 60s now, and they all say the same thing. What happened at the end of the 60s, it made a lot of people fearful of speaking out. That's why they do it. That's why they contrive these stories, these narratives, make these examples. It's all about controlling the people. So, this headline right here, Clinton, I'm not worried. She likes this outfit. I know she wears this a lot, the yellow. But anyway, Hillary Clinton, gematria of 73. I'm not worried, gematria of 73. Something to think about. If Hillary becomes the next president, her final term will end when she's 73 years old. Time magazine recently did an article saying Hillary's the perfect age to be the first female president. Perfect has gematria of 73. With regards to 73, from voting day this year to inauguration day is a span of 73 days. How fitting for Miss Hillary Clinton with the 73 gematria. The way that headline reads, Clinton, I'm not worried. Clinton is a word with 33 gematria. We'll talk about Bill Clinton and how he got that name in the first place in a little bit. But anyway, Clinton, I'm not worried, sums to 106, just like prophecy. And I'm telling you, they've been coding it in the headlines for years that Hillary is to be the next president. We're going to talk more about it. Stay with me. They're showing Hillary's the big leader in total delegate count. Because of the superdelegates, they favor her by a lot compared to Bernie. That's something that can always change. but I doubt it will. I'm pretty sure Hillary is the establishment's candidate, and Bernie Sanders is here for part of the narrative and the excitement. You know, they got to keep things spicy. They got to keep people's hearts and minds in it. Bernie Sanders is bringing out the crowds. Hillary Clinton is not. But anyway, you know, Bernie just won these. He won Wisconsin. He got 48 delegates. Clinton 38. He won Wyoming. Only 14 delegates at stake. 7. They both got about 7 because the vote was close. Look at New York. What happens in New York will say a lot. Hillary used to be the senator there. Bernie in Vermont next door. The next big heavyweight's Pennsylvania. So, then California. Then the show will pretty much be over. So that's what's upcoming with the primaries, what's left in the tank. Anyhow, I just want to show you how scripted this is for Hillary and how it's really a big fuck you to the people of this country. You have to realize the majority of people in this nation, they don't care for the Clintons, you know, Democrat and Republican. The only way to create a narrative for Hillary to be likable as the president is to do what's been going on in the media. Having these characters in the Republican Party that are all kind of like the scum of the earth. Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio. You know, all of these men are despicable, and a lot of the other characters they've had up there who've fallen off the scene, such as, you know, what's his name? Oh, Marshmallow Man out of New Jersey. What is his name? Chris Christie, CC33. You know, all of these people are all part of the show. They're just trying to build this narrative where Hillary seems reasonable. You know, the lesser of two evils, as it always comes down to. But let me just show you how tight this is for Hillary Clinton. So she announced that she was going to run for president on April 12th, 2015, a year and a day ago from today. This was the 102nd day of the year. This is a special number. As we talked about in 9/11, the attack lasted 102 minutes. We'll talk about the Clintons and New York in a little bit as well. Anyhow, United States of America has gematria of 84. Think about the book 1984, as well as 102. Civil War began on the 102nd day of the year, the war to save the Union. So this has been a special date in history. This is when Hillary announced, April 12th, 2015. With regards to this number, the phrase fuck you has a gematria of 102, and when I think about what happened on September 11th, these monumental lies, when I think about Hillary Clinton, when I think about these wars such as the Civil War, it really does all come back to fuck you, because the powers that be are continually keeping us fighting and divided over nonsense. It's like even in regards to the Civil War, so many people have been lied to that that war was about slavery. That war wasn't about slavery. It was about central banking. You know, what Bernie Sanders says he's going to bring under control while providing no real solution. And that's because Bernie Sanders, he's not part of the solution. He's part of the deception. So understand the significance of this number, 102. If you're not aware, Bill Clinton was not born Bill Clinton. He was born William Jefferson Blythe. His father died on the way back from a business trip coming from Chicago back to their home in Hope, Arkansas. And what's interesting about Chicago is Hillary's also originally from Chicago. A lot of wrongdoing in this world comes out of Chicago. That's also where Bernie Sanders went to college. It's the Masonic Zionist Mecca for this nation, Chicago, and they control a lot of the power players. Anyhow, the original governors of New York were named Clinton. Bill Clinton would not take on the name Clinton until he went off to Ivy League school. The name William Jefferson Clinton has gematria of 111, just like New York. And what I think about is how when Bill Clinton became president, in 93, there was the World Trade Center bombing. And then when George W. Bush became president in 2001, there was 9/11. New presidents, major issues at the World Trade Center in New York. And part of what I'm trying to say is each president comes in to carry on the agenda of the last. And I was explaining this to the Obama supporters. I was saying, Look, you might love Obama's rhetoric, you might love the way he speaks, but all of his policies and his voting records say that he's just going to be a continuation of the Bush administration. And that's exactly what he's been. So for all the Republicans that hate Obama but supported Bush, you don't make sense. And for all of the Democrats that hated Bush but love Obama, you don't make sense. You don't pay attention to policy. You pay attention to headlines and rhetoric and nonsense. You're over here looking at the dangly ornament and missing what's really going on over here, This is what America is. So here was a funny story in regards to Hillary announcing on the 102nd day of the year. This story emerged February 3rd at the beginning of this year. Or excuse me, not February 3rd, February 2nd, which is the 33rd day of the year, Groundhog's Day. Caucusing for Clinton at 102 years old. And what's up with 33 is the name Clinton in Gematria equals 33. Special number to the Freemasons. The article was posted at 8:05, which makes me laugh because it's a lot like 85. Hillary equals 85. 0 doesn't count in numerology. They say that the Hillary supporter, her name is Ruline. Ruline. Her last name, Steininger, has gematria of 66, like woman. Her name in simple English gematria sums to 199, the 46th prime, which reminds me of Chicago, which has gematria of 46, Hillary's place of birth. Her husband, Bill, born in 46. His biological father died coming back from Chicago. From the date she announced until the date of voting day, November 8th, 2016, is a span of 576 days. One of my readers figured this out. He noticed that Freemason in English gematria sums to 576. Again, the Freemasons are always coding and giving tributes to their numbers. Interesting, from the date she announced to the date of the election. Bill Clinton was the 42nd president. If Hillary became the 45th president, we'll talk about why that's interesting. Also, Freemason equals 42 the small way in regards to her husband, Bill. NYC equals 42, tribute in his name to New York. In the story that I was watching of this woman, they show this flashback to Hillary when she said she was going to run to be president someday. She did that on November 23rd, 99. Interesting date with 133 numerology. Government equals 133. White House equals 133. Bernie Sanders equals 133. A fitting vice president. There's also a date with 152 numerology. Makes me think about how the White House is at Pennsylvania Avenue. Date with 62 numerology. Mason equals 62. The name Clinton in simple English gematria sums to 87. If Hillary were to become the 45th president, that would mean Bill was 42, she was 45. Put it together, it sums to 87. Something interesting to think about. From her birthday this year, Hillary's birthday is October 26th, to Inauguration Day is a span of 87 days. Also 12 weeks and 3 days, the word 3. So from her birthday to Inauguration Day, 87 days. From Election Day to Inauguration Day, 73 days, like Hillary Clinton. Hillary's campaign this year, that's, the sign that's being held up in the background of her rallies is Fighting for Us. Kind of a suspicious campaign. Who is us? Fighting for us? I'll tell you what, she's not fighting for you. You're not part of that us. I'll tell you that much. Fighting for Us, though, has gematria of 87. You gotta love it. Somebody put this little collage together for me, just some recent 87s they saw in regards to Hillary Clinton in the headlines. Once you're aware of this language of gematria, you really see what's going on. And this is why I like to make these videos. I know that if you apply this knowledge, you will be grateful every day forward. You won't even need to watch my videos anymore. You'll just be able to do the work yourself. You'll be able to catch what they're coding in the headlines. Also, with regards to Hillary going for being the 44th person to be president, right now Obama's 44, but the 43rd person because Grover Cleveland was 22 and 24, so the count's always been off by one ever since. So Hillary would become the 44th person, the 45th president. Her maiden name is Hillary Rodham, which has gematria of 144. When you write out 44, it sums to 144. On our calendar, when you write out April 4th, it sums to 144. First president to ever die in office died on April 4th. Fateful day, just like Martin Luther King Jr. And the last president to die in office was JFK, the 44th term president, assassinated in the middle of Dealey Plaza, named after a 33rd degree Mason. He died on the first day of Sagittarius that has gematria of 144, just like his brother died at 1:44 a.m. JFK was also the 35th president, the only Catholic president. Catholic equals 35. Again, 44th term president, 35th president. Some presidents do 2 terms. So anyway, just to go back in time, I remember this headline from 2008. It blows me away how much time's gone on. But in 2008, I was telling people, Obama's going to be the next president. It's so obvious. It's clear as day. I told everyone what the Obama presidency was going to be. I predicted the Obama presidency perfectly. I said he would continue on the policies. All the liberals will let it go because they got their guy in there. They'll act like everything's just fine. The conservatives will probably get angry because it's not a Republican in there. And essentially nothing will change. And that's pretty much where we are, except for there's more surveillance. But we're just on the same path. Anyhow, around the same time when this headline came out, I said, here it is. Obama will be the next president. Hillary, probably the president to follow right after. And I'm pretty sure that's still correct. But to show you how deep the rigging really goes, think about this. Here's a recent headline from days past. Bill Clinton tears into protesters. This headline has gematria of 137. 137 is the 33rd prime number. Washington, D.C. equals 137. The word federal equals 33. Again, 137, the 33rd prime. Of course, the name Clinton equals 33 as well. Here's a headline about Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton's father died on May 17th, 1946, which is the 137th day of the year. And just to verify this for you, anyone can do this. Just go to a search engine such as Google. Hate to advertise for them. But look, you just type in the date, May 17th, it pops right up. 137th day of the year, leaving 228 days remaining, right? 137, the 33rd prime. Bill Clinton's father winds up dead on this date, May 17th, 1946. 137th day, a date with 33 numerology. Again, 137, the 33rd prime. Also a date with 87 numerology. Again, the name Clinton, the big way is 87. The small way, 33. What are the odds? What I'm trying to say is we live in a world where people are born and bred to be in a lot of big places. Political offices, from Congress to the executive. Supreme Court justices. Actors, athletes. I'm showing this in all of my work. These types of synchronicities connected throughout. The world is a stage, and we the people are getting played by actors who are born and bred to occupy these positions and sell us out, deceive us. Many of us know that this world largely runs on deception. This is how it's done. This is how deep it is. You know, I don't know exactly who Bill Clinton was really born to, but what's obvious is that from a young age, this ritual sacrifice of his father, it's all part of his path to how he became the president. Perhaps he was brought into this Clinton family, these original governors of New York. That first governor of New York, George Clinton, became the fourth vice president to Madison. Done a lot of work on Madison, New York, Madison Square Garden, all the coding, the Bill of Rights. You got to check out these other videos I've done. I'll link them in the description as well as my President's Day special. It's always been this way since the beginning of this nation, rigging it all by the numbers, by the Masons. Most of the founders of this nation were Masons. This headline is in regards to Bill Clinton getting into it with Black Lives Matters protesters. Black Lives Matters is controlled opposition. Do you remember the first person they attacked on the campaign trail? It was Bernie Sanders, which didn't make any sense. If Black Lives Matter was a real organization, a strategic organization, Bernie Sanders would have been the last contestant they attacked. It's all just part of the show. It's all part of the manipulation and confusing people. Anybody in Black Lives Matters, you guys need to wake up. This is just meant to further divide us. Again, the Masons believe in divide and conquer and order through chaos. Black Lives Matters also has that gematria of 42, the number negatively stamped all over Black Americans throughout history, showing who's really behind it. The date this happened was April 7th, 2016, a date with 47 numerology. The word president equals 47. Hillary, born in the year 47 on a very special date, October 26th. Black Lives also has that gematria of 96, like Freemason the big way. With regards to more predictive programming, the first time Hillary Clinton ever made it as a character on The Simpsons was in the movie, The Simpsons Movie, which came out in 2007, about the time her and Barack were running for president. That movie was 87 minutes long. 87 minutes long. Since then, a lot of people have become aware that there is a cartoon from The Simpsons where Donald Trump is president, and his presidency is so disastrous that after it, the first female is elected president, and that is Lisa Simpson. And I want to show you something about Lisa Simpson in regards to Hillary Clinton. Lisa Simpson has gematria of 47, just like the word president. You know? And Simpson has gematria of 33, just like Clinton. The movie runs 87 minutes. This is all predictive programming. In Washington, D.C., the American meridian is the meridian that cuts through it, also sums to 137, the 33rd prime, connecting with federal. I forgot to mention that when Bill Clinton's father died on May 17th, that's the day that leaves 228 days remaining. Death also equals 228, but so does United States of America. And think about this nation and all the death it creates. This nation's been at war since it began. Almost every year of its existence, we've been involved in some sort of war. More predictive programming. Here's that Hillary Clinton article. Hillary Clinton is the perfect age to be president. This is from Time Magazine, April 3rd, 2015. At the time, she was 67. At 67, Hillary Clinton is now a woman of a certain age. And what's up with this, Truth Seeker, is right here. In Jewish gematria, female equals 67. International Women's Day is the 67th day of the year. This article talks about how she's at age 67, the perfect age. Perfect has gematria of 73, just like Hillary Clinton. Right here, Truth Seeker. You learn this language of gematria, you see what they've been coding all this time. Foreshadowing. And something else I started to think about is, there's been a lot of tabloid articles about how sick Bill Clinton truly is for a lot of years. There's a lot of celebrities just dropping dead overnight. A lot of people don't like Hillary Clinton just because of her attachment to Bill Clinton, who's despised by a lot of the nation. If Hillary is truly to be the next president, and I'm correct, I think something that would go a long ways towards her being more accepted would be the death of Bill Clinton. Is it possible that Bill Clinton dies between now and the election, or even before inauguration? There's never been a first man before, and there might never be. Check this out. His birthday, August 19th, 1946. He died 3 months after his father was found dead on the side of the road coming back from Chicago. He was born with a life lesson number of 47. Like president, he became president. Also a date with 38 numerology, which is connected to death, a number coded into a lot of celebrities' births that drop dead out of nowhere. And also a date with 73 numerology, which connects to Hillary Clinton as well as the word sacrifice. Should Hillary get the election and Bill's still alive? This is something I'll be looking for. I could see a dead Bill Clinton story before Hillary made it to the White House and the way things work in this world. A lot of ritual sacrifice to climb up. Something I also document. Anyhow, getting near wrapping this up. Again, at the beginning we were talking about how the political system, it is an organized sham meant to dupe the people while always finding a new way to keep their interest. Bernie Sanders is something different. We've never had somebody who's as far left, you could say. And to me, that's not really a bad thing. I like diversity of opinions. I like debate. I like people being open-minded. What I don't like are lies. Bernie Sanders, right after the Brussels, Belgium attack, went on Jimmy Kimmel Live and talked about how evil ISIS was. I'd play the video. I'm going to link it in the description. You can listen yourself. I have a feeling that if I link the video, they'll block the video, and I don't want to get another strike on this account. But anyway, Bernie Sanders. 3 days before he did this, I was talking to young people about how Bernie Sanders validates the lies. That's how you know he's part of the system. That's how you know he's not legit and why you shouldn't vote for him. And a lot of young people heard what I was saying because they recognize that they're being lied to. And they understand, at least on a base level, the motivation for these lies and how it fuels the war and banking machine. And here Bernie Sanders is always speaking out against the bankers, but he doesn't want to talk about what's really at the root of it. And he doesn't want to identify who the real terrorists are in this world. It is those same bankers who control the media, who control government, who stage this propaganda for their benefit. So anyway, Bernie Sanders, just days later after I talked to these young people, just days later after another ISIS hoax, Jimmy Kimmel talking big. If you're not aware, Jimmy Kimmel broadcasts from the Hollywood Masonic Temple. No joke. Lots of numerical tributes on the Jimmy Kimmel Show by the numbers if you pay attention. These Masons always throwing their numbers out there. For the record about Bernie Sanders, he's currently 74 years old. He's Jewish. This nation was created by Jews and Masons. That's not hearsay, that is the truth. Jewish and Masonic, gematria of 74, just like Bernie's age. Before Bernie ran, I talked about how his numbers were really lining up for him. Something magical might happen for Bernie. He's gone further than I first expected, but I think this is all part of leading up to a vice presidency with Hillary. That would make a lot of sense. And just for some more of these Masonic Bernie Sanders tributes that have happened in the media, there was this story that came out on March 3rd, Bernie baby dies from SIDS, and they put it out on 3-3, a lot like 33. SIDS itself has gematria of 33, also 51 like conspiracy. And, you know, this SIDS phenomenon is put on by the world of lies we live in and this lying propagandist media. It's so obvious what's really going on with SIDS. We live in this world where children are being bombarded with more and more chemicals, from vaccines to what's in the food, you know, all these new allergies. The media just shies away from this and acts like that's, you know, oh, that's conspiracy lunacy to talk about these chemical possible causes, vaccines and, you know, toxins in the food. That's for tinfoil hat land. But then they don't provide any reason for what it is. They treat it like it's some big mystery, you know? Playing people for fools. And most people are fools. You know, this propaganda, it deceives the masses, unfortunately. But that needs to stop. People need to wake up. People need to get out of it. So anyway, they say Bernie baby dies from SIDS. The story comes out on 3-3. Bernie baby in gematria equals 47 like president. Also 83, the reflection of 38, number connected to death. Bernie baby became popular when he was in media headlines being held by Bernie Sanders dressed up as him in Nevada. Nevada, one of 2 states with gematria 47. The other is Ohio. The first Republican presidential debate was in Ohio. The first Democratic debate in Nevada to be president. You get it? 47, 47, president equals 47. They say his name was Oliver Jack Carter Lomas Davis. Some interesting name gematria. They said he was going to be buried on March 8th. Can be written 3/8 or 8/3. Remember, Bernie baby equals 83. Gets buried on a date with 47 numerology. Bernie baby equals 47. And Bernie baby, this news story, it came with GoFundMe accounts to send in money. And what I'm trying to tell you is, these are the Masonic riddles, the jokes put in headlines, the crazy numerological tributes that are always in our headlines. And the world we live in is full of lies and propaganda and deceivers. It's meant to mess with our emotions. It's meant to control us. It's meant to steal our wealth. Think about all the innocent people who were touched by this story who just, donated some money thinking they're doing the right thing. I guarantee you all this money went to all the wrong people. And I guarantee you Bernie baby's just fine. Probably born to some Masonic family that, he doesn't have any say in how he's getting used and abused in this. Something else about Bernie Sanders here. This was a story I documented from February. Chelsea Clinton, think about C, the third letter, 3, born to the Clintons, accidentally calls Bernie Sanders president. And this story came out of Minnesota. Minnesota has gematria of 110, the big way, just like president, and the small way, also connecting to president through 47. Show you what was so interesting about this story and what else I documented. Notice that Bernie Sanders equals 61. This is the God number in Jewish gematria. From his birthday, which is September 8th, same birthday as my mother, I think part of the reason she loves him so much. From his birthday to election day is a span of 61 days. And I don't think Bernie's going to be winning on election day, but he might be as the vice president. Hillary and Bernie both line up perfect for election day. Remember, it's 73 days from Hillary to Inauguration Day. It's also a span of 8 weeks and 5 days. Hillary equals 85. Again, Bernie Sanders equals, in simple English gematria, equals 133, like White House, like government. It was in Minnesota where Chelsea Clinton accidentally called him president. I think these are all just subtle cluing ins as to what's to come. Bernie Sanders' birthday, September 8th, 1941. Born in that year, 41, special year. Date was 77 numerology. Judaism equals 77. He's Jewish. DC on the 77th meridian. Also born on a date with 58 numerology, important number in Freemasonry. Again, he graduated from Chicago in the year 64, which really stands out. Chicago, again, is the Zionist Masonic Mecca. Israel equals 64. Zion equals 64. The mayor of Chicago right now is Ram Israel Emanuel, born on the same date that Israel was recognized as a nation, the 333rd day of the year. At the time, I just plugged this in to see how it looked. President Sanders equals 73 like Hillary Clinton. I think it's really just code for Hillary, but also a cluing in that this might be the ticket when election time rolls around. And just to show you, just so you don't think I'm just picking on Democrats or Hillary and Bernie, I am exposing how, the whole system is a fraud and they truly execute by the numbers. When Paul Ryan became Speaker of the House, I did a bunch of videos on John Boehner, his resignation. All of this was scripted, the same way as what I'm revealing now. Let me show you what's up with Paul Ryan's announcement yesterday that he's not going to run for president. There's a specific reason he did it yesterday. All day, CNN kept up this ticker with 35 minutes, and I know exactly why. He's the third consecutive Speaker of the House that's Catholic. Catholic equals 35. If you don't recall, John Boehner stepped down after he spoke with the Pope of the Catholic Church, which is what led to Ryan replacing him in the first place. Again, JFK, the only Catholic president, he was number 35. Yesterday, the date of Ryan's announcement, April 12th, 2016, the 52nd, a date with 52 numerology. Pope has gematria 52. This year, the United States is 239 years old, which is the 52nd prime. The Catholic Church, the Jesuits, they all fit into this Masonic, Zionist umbrella of ownership over this nation. All of these things are intertwined. Earlier this year, Ryan became the 54th Speaker of the House on a date with 54 numerology, October 29th, 2015. This was a date with 47 numerology. Ryan might be a future president planned, down the road. He's still a young man, and I could see him the way they use him in the media as something bigger in the future. This was also a date with 74 numerology like Masonic. Paul Ryan, when he was a youth, his father was found dead. And a lot of these people who climb to high places, they lose their father at a young age. Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, Paul Ryan, many actors, many athletes. I think this is all part of the Masonic rite of passage. I think maybe to get on a certain level to show that you're committed, you have to give up a loved one in your family, possibly your father. After all, what would show more commitment to a gang? The word mafia equals 47 in Jewish gematria, by the way. But what would show more loyalty than having someone close to you murdered, It's sick, but we live in a world ruled by sick people. Yesterday, April 12th, the date of his announcement until November 8th is a span of 211 days, which made me smile. That's the 47th prime number. This is in regards to the president. President equals 47. CNN's article, when I clicked on the link, look at the time they had up. 4:07. A lot like 47. What else? And I'm telling you, you become aware of this language, you become aware of these numbers, you're going to see how all media is doing this all the time. His phrase was count me out that they had emphasis on, gematria of 147. The 47 part stands out. Freemasonry by the numbers, in the headlines, on the daily. When we started this video, which has become longer than I expected, I was talking about, how he supports this false terrorism scheme that fuels the warmongering and banker agenda. And this is the agenda that's been going on since this nation began. Fights against having a central bank and not. At the beginning of this country in the early years, there was an anti-Masonry party. And you have to remember that the majority of the founders of this country were Freemasons. Almost all of them. George Washington, the first president, died at age 67. Freemasonry equals 67. He died by the numbers. Today, he has a Masonic temple built in his honor in Alexandria, Virginia, that's 333 feet tall. So much history of Masonry in this nation. At the beginning of the nation, though, there was an anti-Masonry party, and that party died when, on September 11th, the leader of the party, William Morgan, disappeared. His body was eventually found in a river, drowned. But look at what date he disappeared, September 11th. If you're not aware, September 11th is New Year's Day on the Coptic calendar, which is what a calendar of a certain group of Christians go by. If you're not aware, when September 11th happened, prior to it happening, Bush's administration, many of them were part of something called the Project for a New American Century, and they were a think tank that wrote a document about a new Pearl Harbor and how that was necessary for a new foreign and domestic agenda. And on September 11th, 2001, the New Year's Day of the new century on the Coptic calendar, we got this new Pearl Harbor. So this is a special date to a certain group of people. Again, the Masons, they are the keepers of knowledge. That's what they pride themselves on being, the invisible architects of society. They're aware of many things that we are not. And I think that also measured into their September 11th, and I think this date's been important to them for a long time. I think that's why the leader of this Masonry party disappeared once upon a time on this day. More than 100 years later, nearly 200 years later, buildings are being blown up for the Masons for their agenda. So Bernie Sanders, he's part of this outfit, I'm sorry to say. And for all you young people, again, remember, I'm not here to crush your dreams. I'm not here to break your hearts. I'm saying, look, you are the future. All the thousands of Bernie Sanders supporters that came out in small groups nationwide, they all need to unify. That unification, that can be the revolution that needs to happen. And it could happen faster than any of us think. All right, truth seeker. Until next time.